I'm Dawn Montefusco, Transformational Writing Coach, and this is the healing power of words. Create with passion and write powerful stories that have impact. And today we have a dear old friend who is an amazing singer songwriter. And here we go. He's an innovator using music, words, and images, songwriter, recording artist, filmmaker, photographer, illustrator, and educator. He artistically addresses societal issues, creating music in the moment, capturing beauty in familiar surroundings, and helping people reconnect to their creative essence. His monthly column for Wall Street International Magazine serves as an outlet for his creative writing. His latest album, Stillwater, Intuitive Music, Empathic Songs, and Guitar Manual, No Mind Guitar, Contemplative Practice on Six Strings, were created during our current worldwide hibernation. He lives in Helsinki, Finland, with his wife, contemplative psychologist Doris Lasser Stillwater. Hi, Michael.
Hi, Dawn. It's great to see you.
Great to see you too. It's been a while since I think 2009.
Hmm.
It's crazy. So tell us
Yeah.
what you're up to, what you're doing these days.
Well, this has been a time of creativity for me, particular creativity because of the situation we're in. Needed to cancel all my tours this year and also the retreats that Doris and I lead together. So this has actually opened up doors for more time in the studio than I've had in the last many years. And as a result, a new album, as you mentioned, and also a new book of guitar practices, which I've been playing the guitar for over 50 years, but have never offered that to people. And there's many people who enjoy the way I play guitar. And it occurred to me, well, um, it wasn't enough to just write chords down for songs. I realized that what can be conveyed for those who are really interested in the guitar is the actual patterns of the chords and picking and all of it, all the details. So it's been a joy to go deep into my guitar life and bring it out to share with others.
Your timing is impeccable, by the way. I just bought a new Taylor GS Mini, and I used to play years ago, and I put it down, and I just had an epiphany because of hibernation, and I started just strumming my chords, little songs, and I'm excited to get your book. 'Cause it's going to come in really handy. I want the audience
Well,
to
I,
know just
yeah,
one thing that you and I, the way that I met Michael is, or when I experienced Michael's work, um, there was a retreat that he has, which he'll be having again. And I highly recommend everyone check him out when he's back doing his thing because it's life changing. And he taught me how to sing intuitively from my soul and without being afraid of what I sounded like. And I would just want to say it's 11 years later, and I still do the exercises and work with his teaching. So I want to say just up front, Michael, you are really truly gifted in what you do and how you bring it to the world. Can you let us know a little bit about what intuitive song is?
well, what's interesting about intuitive song is that it is a very simple thing that is totally natural.
Mm.
And to give it a name, intuitive song makes it sound like something so special. And yet what it really is the flowing life stream that all children all over the world are allowing to happen all the time.
Wow.
And that is to trust that the words and sounds and melodies that come out of us are somehow right in each moment. And as we know, as children, we sing melodies that are familiar, and yet we make up new words to go with them.
Yeah.
And that is since this theme is on the power of words, I think a good place to start is that we naturally bring words forth and are searching for new words. And often what happens as we grow up, the critical mind,
Yeah.
which is actually very helpful for training, but for allowing creativity to flow, that critical mind can stop things, as we know. So as we grow up, flow, the river gets dammed up,
Mm.
and we stop letting the words spontaneously flow. I'd say, speaking poetry as well as singing songs. So a lot of my life has been spent reconnecting to that river, to that flow inside of me. And in fact, that new album, this one you mentioned, Stillwater, it's entirely intuitive. It's all spontaneous songs, each one created for a different recipient, for a different person, in either private song portraits or ceremonies called the honoring, all over the world over many years. And some of the finest songs that arose in those moments. These are songs complete with the words and the music. Some of the finest songs were selected for this album and accompanied afterwards in the studio with various instruments to support the music of it. But that practice of intuitive song making is one which you know because you came to this workshop or retreat that we did. And it's something I continue to share because, well, I guess one thing is that it is so simple and it seems so obvious to me that it's something we can all do. But what's amazing is so many people have not yet reconnected.
Mm.
And for anyone listening now who's wondering, well, I'd love to do something like that, but there's no chance of going to a workshop or retreat in this moment. What I've created is an online practice called song sourcing. And so, in fact, I'll make that link in the bio page,
Yeah, we'll
for
have
anybody
all
who
of those links. Trust me, we'll
yeah,
have
we'll do
all of
that.
Michael's links in the
All,
page.
but what it is, to put it simply, it's rather than thinking it's some big work that you have to study and practice for a long time. Song sourcing is simply a collection of background tracks, instrumental tracks that I created. So no words, simple patterns, harmonic patterns with simple rhythms, and without too much movement and with no melody actually written into the song. So, in other words, the melody is open to interpretation by the listener by creating something new, and the words are to be added as you feel. I mean, many people begin by just humming or ah 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 with it. In fact, some people use these background tracks for their own instruments so that they can create with their own, say they're a flute player or guitarist or whatever, they can just, add their instrument to it as well. But the purpose of that is to give you a variety of choices of different music to relax into your own natural flowing expression. And it has many benefits, and I could talk for a long time about all of that. And as you know, there's so much experience that can happen when doing it. But to simply essence it, I would say that the practice of spontaneous song making or intuitive song making is not only one that anyone can practice, regardless of musical background, but it's also something that can be a delight to share with others.
Oh,
And,
incredible. Yeah.
with one other person, it can be, someone who you feel comfortable with. You don't do it with a stranger unless you and the stranger and maybe a group of people have come with a similar intention,
Mhm.
creativity without judgment. That's the
Yes.
key.
Oh my
So,
gosh. That right there, I just want to pause and say that's amazing. Creativity without judgment. I have actually found myself over the years singing to my dog in the mornings. I feel, and it's a sign for me that things are going well. Like I can tell that my mood is up because all of a sudden things just start to pour out of me, and it had everything to do with that workshop. You managed to get, so if people have an idea, there are experienced singers in there. There are people who've never sung before, and we're all on a level playing field. Like the idea being that everyone's kind of nervous. What's going to come out of my mouth? And you give different uh, prompts. I remember once was just describe God, and I started singing about all the colors in the rainbow, and I had no idea that I would be doing that. And it made so much sense, and I've never forgotten that. So I really believe that I know that your work that you do around the world does tap back in to our essence, our true essence, and to have that no judgment around creativity really allows that. I feel like it's a channel that opens um, to create space for whatever comes. And you also taught us to let go of it, that it didn't, you don't necessarily need to capture it all the time, that it could just come through you and then move on, which I thought was great. What inspires, oh, before we go, before we go into the next question, I just want to explain, you do circles where people come, and for various reasons they ask you to sing a spontaneous song for them, and sometimes you have a little information about them and sometimes you don't. I remember it would vary, and then just Michael literally writes the song as it pours through him, and it's sometimes these songs, you just don't even believe that it's happening, it's so in alignment. uh and that brings me to my next question: what inspires the words in the songs, in your songs?
Well, these spontaneous songs that are created for an individual who is open and and is there to receive. Um, I say, if there's anything that you want, either want for yourself or for the world, or something you want to declare about what you're ready for. Like, I am kind of a statement of identity. I am this. This is who I am. And then say something about that. And they might ask for something about healing, about, something about empowerment or decision making or community, asking for some kind of support for their own spiritual journey, their self inquiry into who they are. So whatever it is, I say anything is fine. I listen to their words, but I'm also listening to the energy, what we could call the field. I know that
Mhm.
word is used
Yes.
often now. And
Yes.
so the field can be said to be energy. It's also the non-verbal. It's what's just in the space. And
Mhm.
so I am opening to the field with them, and I ask them also not to imagine this that they're wanting as being in the distant future, but that it's as part of the ceremony or part of the song portrait. It's to ask them to imagine or breathe in that which they want or they're ready for into this moment. So,
Mhm.
in other words, to allow the fulfillment of the wish or the prayer or the dream, allow the fulfillment now in on some level of consciousness. So in other words, it's not saying it's magic and that suddenly something appears. However, it's extremely powerful both when one person does this, but when you have a group, and often these groups are rather large, and someone is in the middle who's wanting the song, and I invite everyone there who wants to. There's no force uh, to do this, but everyone who wants to imagine this person as fulfilled in their desire, in their wish. And then I say, and furthermore, if you resonate with their request,
Mhm.
I invite you now to
Right.
breathe in the fulfillment of that request, even something that is a little different from what they said, whatever is bringing you to peace right now.
Yeah.
And so everyone in the room, in their own way, is coming into that uh, honoring and acceptance of the fulfillment of the wish. And then it's the point is we call it the honoring ceremony, but it's not just about honoring the person in the middle, saying
Mhm.
it begins honor ourselves. So each
Mhm.
person is honoring themselves, feeling the fulfillment, and this is the creation of the field.
Yes.
So in that space, there's a field created of the thing already done. It's
Mhm.
already done. And a song, as you said, where do the words come from? That's where the words come from. I just rest in that field, and it doesn't take a long time. It's not like I'm sitting there for 5 minutes. The guitar is a wonderful help in that because I nearly immediately begin guitar starting a pattern. And that's how I almost always begin some pattern in some key that just feels right in the moment. And then I don't even try to think of what are the words going to be. If the pattern on the guitar is happening, and then I feel myself in field, and I feel the presence of this person and their request, and I bring it into me as to be my request. So in other words, it's not separating myself from them. So this thing that is, I say request, it could be a as I say, a readiness for something in my life. And it's interesting, many of the songs are first person. I'll start singing of, you know, my life is fulfilled right now. It's rather than your life, rather than as if,
Right.
because because the song is coming from a letting go of boundaries, a letting go of the wall that is separating me from you, from everyone. It's a letting go of that division and coming into the field of musical space, of poetic creativity, and in that space the song is always born. And I always say I trust 100% there's always a song, and
Mm-hmm.
the song will have a beginning and a middle and an end. And in that way, it's perfect. It's always perfect. However, the only way it can happen, and this is a good advice, if you will, for those of you listening and wondering, I'd like to do that, and I want it to be perfect also. Well, the thing is that if you want it perfect, that's going to be the stopper. That's going to stop it. So, so trying to create a perfect song or a perfect anything is usually a detriment to the thing happening in
Mm-hmm.
a flowing way.
Mm-hmm.
What's perfect about it is actually it's an act of letting go.
Mm.
It's a perfect act of letting go, if you will, because it's not needing anything in the moment, not requiring anything from it. Needless to say, and you could say, however, I'm recording all the songs. So there's a this photograph or this recording of it which doesn't lie, and it will deliver. And for everyone in the group, they receive this recording,
I love
and
it.
so and it's always good. And what I do edit a little bit. What I do is I will begin I cut off the beginning, so the song begins. It doesn't have all the words beforehand, and at the end I fade at the end.
Mhm. Perfect. I love it. I mean, really remarkable. I mean, I don't know anyone else in the world that does what you do. And also, I'm curious when you're teaching other people to open into their intuitive song maker, um, what are anything come to mind on what you experience when you see someone kind of break through that?
Well, first I respond that you haven't met anyone else doing that. There
Yeah.
are a few people that I know who do this,
Oh,
but all the people I know who do this were inspired by me. So
love it. I,
I haven't yet. I haven't yet met someone. I mean, you could say there's jazz artists who are ad-libbing sound. I mean, all everywhere. I mean,
Mhm.
that's what jazz is.
Yeah.
But to create with the lyrics, particularly lyrics of intention for a person, that it can be supportive, healing, helpful.
Yes.
That is something you need. And people come to these seminars or trainings that I do to go deeper into that study.
That's fantastic. Uh, I'm sure the opening up that you see when people I mean, I remember how, some people are just, "Duh," I was like that too. Yeah. And then finally when it came out, it was just like the stream, like you said, we entered I call it the cosmic fabric, the field that all of these pieces of the fabric are connected. Let's talk a little bit about your filmmaking. What inspired you and Doris into filmmaking?
Well, it's been in me from when I was a kid because I love movies. And so there's always been the sense of, after so much music making, that something is missing, and that's,
Mhm.
making a film. But it seemed out of my reach because I thought it involved going to film school and also buying incredible equipment and stuff. Well, about 10 years ago, about the time when we had our time together, uh, the price of digital video equipment came way down.
Right. Yeah.
And I remember hearing of a film that was made it in the theaters that had cost, maybe $50,000 for them to make, and it ended up being multi-million, make. And it wasn't, my intention wasn't to make lots of money from it, but it was wanting to create something that was worthy of being seen. That's
Mm,
all.
yeah.
That not only worthy of being seen, but that when the person sees it, there's a transmission that happens. They
Yes.
feel uh, they feel touched somehow, and so I got my first camera with an old friend of mine. In fact, he's the oldest friend I have, who's a cinematographer in Hollywood, and I knew him when I was actually his mother drove my mother to the hospital for me to be born.
Oh my gosh.
So in other words, from the very beginning, and he's like, I think, a year or so older, so he was always there. and and then we used to, I remember many years ago, we talked about, making a film someday. And here he went to Hollywood, and he's, been making many movies. But he said, Mike, where's the movie? You always talked about it, and we're getting on in years. What's going to happen? And so he brought me the next day into a great store in Hollywood for cameras, and we picked out a small digital camera, a video camera, and then began along the tour. I was on a tour. I began, doing some shooting and a little interviews, but not sure what is the movie about. What's it going to be?
Mhm.
And on the last day of the tour, or actually in the middle of the tour, but flying from one city to another, I began doing a documentary style narrating as I filmed and interviewing people all over about what is the great song. So I was
Awesome.
asking the question, is there a great song? What is the great song? And also I said, if everyone was free to make song in the moment, what would the world look like? And
Wow.
I got all these really fun responses. In fact, I think I should release that because that was never released. That first interview is kind of fun.
Yeah.
But as a result of that, an idea began, and the title of this idea is "In Search of the Great Song."
Mhm.
And it felt like more than a movie. It felt like a very long movie because it felt like a big project. And so Doris joined me in supporting the vision of how this goes about. And I remember we were in Hawaii, in fact, maybe even that same time when I was there with you, uh, where the question came, who, there'll be many people we'll just meet on the street. We can ask the question, but who is really someone's music that we love totally that should be in here? And we thought of several people, but then one arose to the, and it was the composer of choral music, Morton Lauridsen. And we had known his music from a CD that was called Lux Eterna, the Eternal Light.
Wow.
And we loved it so much, and we played it in breath groups, and we played it for ourselves when we wanted to go into deep spaces. And to us, it was the most beautiful contemporary music we had ever heard. And so we contacted him, and he said, well, I happen to be in San Francisco when you're flying through. Why don't we do the interview then? And so we set up a very short interview. And the thing is, what to fast forward, that one interview grew and grew into more and more connection with Morton Lauritsen and became a feature film
Yeah.
called Shining Night, which is the name of one of his greatest songs called Shining Night. And so Shining Night, it connects also to the island he lives on, uh, up in the Pacific Northwest, an island with only 40 inhabitants, no electricity.
Wow.
And so I was able to go to the island and film the nature there that he lives in, and him speaking of the music, and then filming choirs around the world singing his music,
Yeah.
and together putting that together. And Doris was extremely influential, not only co-filming with me, but also in the editing process. When I began to put it together, I was still steeped in American filmmaking, and
Mhm.
so there were fast edits.
Yeah.
And she was just said, no, this is, you can't do this with Morton Lauritsen's music. And so I pivoted around and redid the editing with much more space,
Yeah.
much more pauses. And as a result of all that, the film became quite successful on its release and was
Mhm.
seen around the world,
I remember.
often hosted by choirs. And what I want to say, I went on long about that, but
Okay.
the point is that was not what I had envisioned of being the first film. Because here's the thing, Morton's music is accessible to anyone to listen to, but to sing it does take a pretty high degree of art, of
Mm.
voice. And I had wanted to appeal to the people who feel they can't sing.
Mm.
So it was almost counterintuitive to have the first film be this high art of choral music. And yet, other film waited to come.
Mhm.
And and the next film that was created was In Search of the Great Song. They called that because it's, and it was about all the people around the world who responded to that question
Mm.
and the music that responds to that. And once that was done, which is in 2016, there was another film that still had to happen. And so there's three films in the series. And it's the third film that's the most personal. And it's the one that speaks directly to this issue we've been talking about pretty much our whole time together. And it's beyond the fear of singing.
Mm.
And it's about freeing the voice and coming home to ourselves through our voice. And in that, it begins with people, so many people who were told that they're not good enough and had to leave the choir, right? People who were kicked out of the choir.
Yeah.
And then it transitions into people who say, no, I'm going to sing, and come out from that sense of hiding, coming out with their voice step by step, and then into more and more fulfillment of that as the film goes on and comes into all the people singing together and the choirs and their experiences of overcoming their fears. So those are the three films, and now they're either in CD or available to see online. So if anybody wants to see films about the song inside of us, even the first one, Shining Night, is really about Morton Lauritsen, considered the greatest living choral composer, how he listens in the silence of nature to the great song within him.
I am
And
so
then,
excited. I'm going to watch all three of them. I watched The Great Song years ago, because you know, because of you. But there is something that you hit on about the healing power of words. I mean, this is very specific, like hearing your own voice and saying words out loud without judgment. There's something very amazing about permission. And I think you give people permission. So one of the things that I love that I want to say is that you did become a filmmaker because to spread the word literally to more and more people to embrace this is so important. And I just have been so just dumbfounded at your talent, and then saying, no, wait, let's get more people to see this. How do we get how do we inspire more people? And the films, they all sound phenomenal. And now I'm going to go and watch all three of them. But um,
And they've all been in film festivals and have all won Best Documentary
that's
awards, all of them.
right.
So,
That's right. I knew that. So I just want to thank you for what you bring to the world. And just another quick question on advice, maybe, to someone out there, right? I really want people to, I'm encouraging everyone to check out your work, look at your films. And it's not just about writing, right? This is the healing power of words. And we forget, as writers, most of my audience, we forget we have to continually write. And I say, well, why don't you just record yourself sometimes? Like, listen to your voice, write a song spontaneously, see what comes out without all the I'm not good enoughs, which personally I think writing is a slower process, and it gives room for the critic to kind of come knocking at your door a little too fast. Uh,
well, the critic is available in all situations at all times. Uh, I don't know if I used the term when you were in our workshop, but I call it the hunter.
oh no.
And the hunter is always looking for something that's not, balanced. It's not right. Somehow it's not right. And so in training, in learning any skill, the hunter is really valuable, actually, always, because it's to discern, it's discernment and getting clear on which path, what we're doing and how to do it
Yeah.
the way we want it. So that's all fine. The thing is that when we are in the open field, creative space, it's not the place that it's not the hunter's environment.
Right.
And if the hunter is there, the hunter will be seeking for something wrong and finding it immediately because the creative act is a tender, fragile space. Something is growing. It's like the little shoot is coming out of the earth. And to immediately subject it to the rigors of the you know, seek of the world when to voice and song and creative expression, it's um, it's not fitting. It's not fair. It's not fair
Yeah.
because that is the space where the hunter actually, the role of the hunter in those spaces, I advise, you ask for advice,
Mhm.
is to kind of face one's own voice, but turn around and protect. So the
Mm,
hunter becomes the protector of the sacred space, the creative space. And by protecting, it just means, in other words, it still has a job. It all has a job. That's the thing. It doesn't want to be unemployed. And I know many people are unemployed, but the hunter never wants to be unemployed. And so it wants to be able to serve. And the point is that it's still serving off that old notion to be critical of ourselves in order to get us better, in order that we get successful somehow. The problem is, of course, and we can see it stops so often the flow
mm,
really delivering a fulfillment, coming to fruition. Often it involves many, we could call false starts. They're not false, they're just attempts at finding its way.
mm,
And as you said, one more thing about the voice. When someone has the opportunity or the opportunity to spontaneously song, and of course, you can do it without any music, but it's nice to have a guitar with you. But
mhm,
if you don't play guitar, use tracks.
mhm,
And you can use any tracks of music, but the ones that I created are specifically designed for this purpose because they're, in a way, you could say it's boring music. In other words, it doesn't change on you so much so that you can relax into it. And then what comes through you is not boring. And
right.
this is the thing, what so many people say, I've seen it, and so many people who've experienced this will say that when they are letting a song come through on a, say it can be on a theme, you can pick a theme, any theme. For instance, a song about how I'm feeling today, whatever. But when you let that happen, words begin coming out that are not filtered from the left brain, we could say. They're not filtered to be appropriate. They're not filtered to make sense or fit with a past memory of what words would be right here. There's an open space for something new to happen. And what people say is that it's like a wisdom door opens for many, or the compassionate heart opens through the mind and through the heart, so that words come through that are delivering messages
Mm.
for us. And if we're with someone else and singing to them, which is a marvelous way to bring it through, because that's a stimulus, that's kind of an attractor. It pulls it out from us towards someone else, that we can deliver messages to them. And we're thinking, why am I saying that? Or wow. And they're saying, oh my God, thank you so much. That was exactly what I needed to hear. And so, yes, I would say in advice is that trust your innate connection to the well
Mm.
of creativity, or to the river of song. Of course, song is only one means of creativity. And as you said, writing words is wonderful. In fact, I would say Morton Lauritsen, who is considered, as I say, one of the greatest composers, he begins every class he teaches in music and composition with a poem. He
Oh,
says,
nice.
always begins with a poem, and these are deep poems. And he's a student of poetry, and he says all of his compositions and many, many, many gorgeous choral works, it all begins with the word. It
Mhm.
all begins with the poem, something that inspires him deeply. And so, as was said, in the beginning was the word.
Yes, totally.
And so we could say that you are living proof of this, Dawn, of staying with it, staying with your creative writing process yourself, and then supporting others in this. It's so beautiful what you're doing. I thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much. That was amazing what you just said. Like truly inspirational, calming, and I mean, definitely uplifting. And you are offering a free gift of an online honoring ceremony. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Well, I was talking about this earlier in our time together, where people gather in a circle and someone asks for a song, and then I create a song in the moment. Well, in these times, more and more is online. So exactly that. It's a circle, metaphorical, of people who choose to come into this this online honoring ceremony, and the entrance is free. It's just to come in and be there. And I won't be able to make a song for everyone, but here's another wonderful and uh, beautiful demonstration of the power of this, is that a song for one is a song for all.
Yes.
So, in other words, even if in the space, there'll be 90 minutes, the session online, and in that space, there might be time for 5 songs, 6 songs.
Yeah.
I don't know. I never know, because it depends how long people want to
Mhm.
speak, and then we have
Totally.
time for song. But whatever it is, those songs will be not just for that person,
Mm-hmm.
they will inspire something that touches the heart of humanity, the
Hmm.
humanity of all of us. And that, in fact, that as I mentioned, this new album, Stillwater, if you listen to that, you'll see these songs were born by one person's intention, but these songs are for all of us. And
Yes.
they're healing and empowering. Yeah, so if you choose to come to this online ceremony, it'll be set up some days after this interview, after you're seeing this, just some days after, and to register for it, we're doing just register, but it's free. But that's just so your email is there, and I can send out notice to you about this.
Fantastic.
And then that's what it is.
I want to vouch for that. It was incredible to be in the circle live, and the stories and the healings that were coming from other people. Truly, truly, I was like, wait a second, this is me too. Like this is amazing. I'm feeling like something I didn't even know to ask to be healed from was being healed, and that's the beauty of your circles. Michael, I wish we had like 7 more hours. You're incredible. I love everything that you're doing. I want the audience to check out your page here with all the links and to really explore your work. You're doing amazing work around the world and I adore you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Dawn. It's so inspiring to see what you're doing, and then inspires me to be asked to speak about these things because this is my life, and this is just what I love to do.
Yeah, me too. I love you, Michael. Have a wonderful evening where you are.
Yes, it's evening time here.
Bye.
Bye bye.